estou sozinho. Ah, porque tudo é tão triste. Ah, a beleza que existe, a beleza que não é só minha.
So, Andrea, you're going to be the one asking us questions, right?
Ah, se ela soubesse que quando ela passa, o mundo inteirinho se enche de graça e fica mais lindo por causa do amor.
Hello, everyone. Hopefully everybody can hear me. Give me a thumbs up if you guys can hear me. Awesome. Thank you for joining us today for a Fireside Chat. Everybody can see my screen, hopefully. Awesome. Just give me a minute here. Let me get my bearings. Okay, so my name is Andrea Oliveira, and I work at NetApp. I am a senior business analyst for the digital support experience team. And I am also the global chair of LUNA, which stands for Latinos Unidos at NetApp. And today I am incredibly excited to host this tremendous opportunity, a fireside chat titled Owning and Embracing Your Heritage as an Executive Leader. And it's a celebration for U.S. National Hispanic Heritage Month, which runs here in the US from September 15th through October 15th. But since NetApp is a global organization, we are honoring it globally. And again, this is in partnership with Luna, Latinos Unidos at NetApp, and Latinas in Tech. So we are super excited that everyone is here. So I kind of wanted to give you an overview of NetApp. Let's see here. Let me just get my screen. So NetApp is based in San Jose, California, and has delivered innovative technology since 1992. That's 30 years and counting. We have offices across the globe, including where I sit in Research Triangle Park here in North Carolina. And today it's an incredibly sunny and beautiful day. And we just recently opened our international headquarters in Cork, Ireland. And Ireland is now a global digital hub and center for innovation and is the international headquarters for 9 of the top 10 US software companies, including Microsoft, Intel, Google, Dell, and Apple, along with 85 technology companies. So NetApp, we're in good company there in Cork, Ireland. We embrace all things cloud, which means we build services that manage, connect, and automate. Our customers rely on NetApp to make their apps faster, their data centers run better, and help their businesses reach new levels of excellence. NetApp is also a Fortune 500 company. And you can see here on the slide some of the companies that we've partnered with. And we are also traded on the NASDAQ as well. So as you can see here in NetApp, we've got 6 distinct employee business resource groups. At NetApp, we believe that the perspectives of our teams, when shared, create a more inclusive, globally diverse workforce. Our NetApp employee business resource groups are instrumental in driving our DI and B efforts, making them a strategic business asset to the NetApp ecosystem. Although I'm not a member of all of these groups, Luna is an ally to all, and we often collaborate on events and cross-sectionality initiatives. Last week, we partnered with NetVets and hosted a conversation with Lieutenant General Rhett Hernandez and learned about his phenomenal story and of immigrating from Mexico with his family as a child and rising through the ranks of the U.S. Army. So as you can see, there's a place for everyone at the table. Today, I'm here representing Luna, and as you can see, the Luna mission statement has an all-inclusive approach and direction with an emphasis on NetApp's business priorities and corporate strategies. Luna has accomplished so much through our various programs and initiatives since it was founded in 2018. Still, we recognize there is much to be accomplished around diversity, inclusion, and belonging, so we continue to work closely with our talent and acquisition allies to support Luna around NetApp's acceleration in cloud and sustained flash growth by focusing on attracting top talent. Earlier in September, NetApp had a dedicated booth at the Latinas in Tech virtual career fair. And we will continue to partner with Latinas in Tech on future events that focus on attracting the very best talent in STEM. To foster connection among our members and allies, we host a monthly cafecito chat where folks can come and have their cafecito and their coffee. And sometimes we have serious topics to discuss, and sometimes we're just meeting just to talk about our daily lives and what's new in our lives. And we also host fun events. We're also committed to giving back to our communities through giving opportunities and volunteering events with NetApp Serves. Most recently, some of our RTP employees volunteered at a local food bank here in the RTP area. And we continue to look for opportunities to partner with local community organizations. And so this brings us to today's agenda. Today's discussion is led by Luna, our business resource group, and the intent is to share experiences and perspectives from executive leadership on how their Latin and/or Hispanic heritage and upbringing has influenced their leadership style, their managerial approach, how they manage their teams, how they manage conflicts. So this conversation is very much from their point of view. And I'm sure they've got a ton of little nuggets to share with everyone. So with that, I'd like to introduce you to our executive speakers today. We have on the line and sharing the stage with me is Cesar Cernuda, who is the president of NetApp, and Maria Murillo, who is the VP of Finance. So Cesar, why don't you let us know where you're sitting today and just give us a little summary.
First of all, thank you so much for the invite, and thanks everybody for attending this session. Today in Europe, in Spain, in my home office doing this meeting. So I'm super happy to be here with everybody.
Fantastic, thank you for that. Maria, tell us where you're sitting and give us a little snippet of who Maria is. Oh, you're on mute, Maria.
This happens. Okay, so thank you, everybody. Very excited to be here. Thank you for the opportunity. I'm sitting in my home as well here in Chicago. It's a beautiful sunny day, and even though we're starting to get some cold mornings, it looks like the afternoon is going to be beautiful, and I can see the sky and the buildings from here. So really excited to be here. I'm originally from Costa Rica, and I've been in the States for a long time. My kids were born here, so I still have one foot there and one foot here. But I do have a lot of years working in the U.S. as a Latina. So I'm looking forward to this discussion.
Excellent. Thank you, Cesar and Maria. And we are incredibly honored to have you joining in this discussion today. So let's go ahead and jump right into it.
Andrea, I think I
Yes.
skipped part of the question, right, about, what I'm from, etc., which is part of the discussion we have today. I born in Mexico, right? And I'm saying this because everybody sees me as a Spanish person. It's true that I've been living in Spain. Actually, I've been living 16 years abroad in many different countries, but I define myself as a global citizen. But it's true that I spent, most of my years in Spain. But I born in Mexico, still have family in Mexico. So I'm sure we're going to talk a little bit about that today. So I have this, Spanish-Mexican, combination as part of my background.
Yeah, absolutely. And I think we all, to some extent share that intersectionality, right? Within our backgrounds. I know for me, I immigrated with my family from Brazil to Miami in the early 80s. So I share that same experience as you do, Cesar and Maria.
Yeah.
So with that, growing up in Miami was absolutely spectacular. If any of you have been to Miami, it's just an incredible melting pot of different diverse cultures. And I was exposed to so many different ethnicities and different cultures. But there are 4 things that I distinctly remember. All Latinos and Hispanic communities, and even people from the Caribbean, Jamaican and Bahamian, found important. And I like to call it the 4 F's. The number 1 F is faith, family, friends, and food. In all my interactions, I go back to some of these things that I learned growing up as a Brazilian American in Miami. So that leads me to my first question. What are some of the things that you remember throughout your upbringing and education that you have incorporated into your leadership style and approach, and why? So let's go with Cesar.
You want me to start, or would you ask ladies first, Maria? You're going to go first?
Okay, ladies first.
All right.
Maria.
So I'm going to start with the first F, because I think something we all share, very passionate, and I'm not saying that the rest of the cultures don't have it, but for sure we have it. It's family. So, and the older you get, the more you realize how everything that you learned and that you heard from your family when you were growing up sticks with you. And so my dad was my example of somebody working. And I have to say that from him, I learned being passionate about everything you do and working really hard, right? He was always working really hard. And it's something I lived with as I was growing up as well. But also this passion about, hey, if you're going to be out working and if you're going to be away from other things that are very important to you or more important to you, like your family, you better be passionate and happy about what you're doing. If not, it doesn't make any sense. So I've always thought that was very important. I think the other thing that is very important, and it comes more from the environment, both in Costa Rica, and I also lived my early years in Miami, so also one of you, and then in many other places in the US that I've lived. It's the importance of giving people opportunities, and how, with great coaching and with great patience sometimes, but you can actually get, you can also help a lot of people do a lot. And many times at work, it's different than outside, when it's more about the socioeconomic surroundings that they have, but it could also be applied to work. Sometimes we just have to give people that opportunity to help them grow. And I think very much that as leaders, we should be more of servant leaders, helping our teams. It's not about us, it's about the team. And about this mentality that if they win, I win. And so it's something that I've kept very close, and it's definitely coming from my family and my upbringing.
Yeah, I like very much what you said, Maria. From my side, look, I also live in Miami some years. As a matter of fact, Maria, myself, did work together some years in Miami, right? So we're working together for several years now. Here's, there's two big things that I will say that I grew up with. The first one is respect. And I want to use that word because, it comes to appreciate actually the diversity and how you are inclusive. How do you respect others? How do you respect different points of view? How do you embrace them? At home, my father always used to tell me, how would you feel if you were on the other side? If somebody, how do you make sure that you feel that, hey, you feel respected? And many times as leaders, many times working, it's hard when you come and say, of course, respect is not hard, but it's hard when you're going to give feedback or to give somebody's feedback, or when you think something is wrong. How do you do that in a way where first you're respectful, but at the same time you're providing the right coaching, guidance, etc., etc. So the first thing is respect, right? And respect for the work of others, respect of the difference that we have among, ourselves, points of view, etc., etc. The second thing that I'll say, and Maria's used the word that I was planning to use, someone adjusted a little bit, but that passion of what, for doing things. At home, I certainly was teach on making sure that whatever you do, you put everything that you can to make it happen. So in other words, you put the passion, the energy, and you give everything you have. Look, I've been in the company for 2 years plus, and I remember very well my first week with the team. I told them, I don't know if I'm going to do a good job or not, but you guys have my commitment that I'm going to give all I have, to make us, all of us, successful. So I think that commitment, to make things happen, that passion, that energy, it's critical. And you need to do that with respect, right? With respect on others and respect of the environment that you're working in.
I can really appreciate both of your points of view on that passion and respect. I know for me, sometimes, imposter syndrome sinks in for me, and I feel like I'm not the smartest person in the room. But I feel like if I bring passion and respect to my interactions every day, then I could achieve pretty much anything that I set myself to achieve. So I definitely appreciate your both of your perspective on that. And there's a ton of great comments coming in into the chat, and unfortunately I can't read them all, but there definitely some positive feedback on both of those perspectives. So let's go ahead and move on to the next question. I read an interesting statistic the other day. Women in tech, it's a workplace trend, and I think it was the Washington Post or the Harvard Business Journal, I think it's their statistic. 26% of computing-related jobs are held by women, just 26%. And just 3% of computing-related jobs are held by African-American women. 6% are held by Asian American women, and only 2% are held by Hispanic or Latina women, self-identifying Hispanic and Latina women. So what are some of the ways that we can partner as a tech company, as a tech industry, with our peers and the broader ecosystem to encourage the recruiting of a more diverse talent, specifically within the Latina, Latino, and Hispanic communities? So let's go, since Maria went first last time, let's go to Cesar.
Yeah, I think this is a very important, the numbers they provide and are key. And this is one of the biggest challenges that we have as a society in general, right? I know we're going to talk about Latinos, but Andrea and others, that I spent several years in my previous company running Asia Pacific, where there were similar challenge of, other cultures, right? In the US, and how you also embrace other cultures in those places. Look, this question brings a lot of, probably is a little bit of US centric somehow, or North America centric, right? Say, how do we foster a culture in North America, in the US, where we have way more inclusiveness and we're more diverse in the Latino? And I'll say, first thing, and these are public numbers, right? There's approximately between 50 to 55 million, not 60 now, Spanish-speaking people in the US alone. So that's almost what, 20% of the total population. So how come you're not going to be inclusive, and how come you're not going to go on and ensure that you build that practice? I think in the last years, all the tech companies and most of the companies, in our overall governance and commitments to ESG, and we've been embracing diversity and inclusion in a very different way, right? We've been embracing that as a core, component of our companies. In our case, is a core piece of our culture. How do we embrace diversity? How do we ensure it's not that we're diverse, but we're inclusive? And we're not only looking into gender, we're looking into way more things and learn from them to make sure that we have a much better impact, not just in the society, but actually attending our customers and supporting our partners. I had a call earlier today. I was in a conference call earlier today with a foundation, which basically they were reaching out to me to be a sponsor to help them to bring more female talent into the overall STEM and technology. And I was discussing with them, hey, where do we start? And I'm a strong believer that everything starts in education. One of the things that I've learned, and some of you know that I also spent many years in Latin America, right? I've been running the business in the Latin American region for more than 7 years. And one of the things that I feel extremely proud has been, look, Latin America has approximately between 180 to 200 million students. And they have been way more digitalized than they were, 20, 30 years ago. And that's going to help big time to foster a much more inclusive world where, certainly in technology and in the new opportunities that the world is going to bring us around the digital transformation journey that we're going through, I think the Latin and Hispanic communities are going to be taking way more advantage than in the past. So I'm a strong believer that this, the digital transformation revolution that we're living into is going to give us more opportunities in markets and people that didn't have before.
Yeah, I can certainly agree with you. And there's another statistic that I want to share, at least here in the US. The Latino and Hispanic population of graduating university is the highest it's ever been. So there is, I think the percentage is sticking with me. It's like 23%, but it's the highest it's ever been. So we've definitely got the talent. The talent is out there. We just have to attract them, right? And with the age of, artificial intelligence and cloud, there's certainly opportunity there. So Maria, I'd like to get your perspective on this question.
Yeah, and I think there are two parts of this question, or two difference, right? One is the STEM, women in STEM, and then girls in STEM and DG girls and everything we've been talking about for many years. I wish we had the silver bullet. I agree with Cesar 100%. It starts with education. And we just need to ensure we have role models for these girls growing up that are interested in science and technology so that they can see themselves going to a career in technology. Hey, I got my bachelor's degrees in computer science, right? And it was because somebody at some point, showed me that this could be a good job for a woman to have as well. I didn't stay there, but I still went through the career at some point. So I think there is the opportunity to do more with education, definitely. In terms of the Latinos, and I don't think it's technology only, right? It's across the world. I think we're underrepresented significantly in the workforce in the US in particular. And I think it has to do with something you mentioned, right? In the past, in professional roles, I would have to say, right? There's a lot of Latinos in service roles, but in professional roles. And I think it has to do a lot of what you were saying, right? It's only until now that we have this huge growth of Latinos graduating from college, right? In the past, they were not, many came here without the education, and it's only this newer generation. So we should start to see that growth in Latinos coming in. And I think, again, with what Cesar said on that diversity push from the companies and the inclusion, we should see more of this growth. Now, we have to ensure we have role models out there right, for these people coming up. We need to make sure we have more people mentoring and sponsoring these women or these men and Latinos. We have to continue to partner with other organizations like Latinas in Tech that are really focused on attracting Latinas. We have to go out and hire from places where we have a high population of Latinos so that we have a better chance of getting Latinos in those interview loops. Because if we don't even have a Latino in the interview loop, we're never going to hire Latinos. So we have to go out and look for the places we are. We're now doing this working from home. We're a lot more open. Most companies are allowing people to stay. So there should be no excuse that I need the people in Seattle or I need the people in places where we may not have Latinos. Now it's much easier. Let's go out, let's recruit, let's make sure that we understand it. And it's not Latinos only. I agree. It's all about diversity, right? It's all about getting more people and a more diverse workforce.
Yeah, absolutely. And I think, education being the greatest equalizer, right? I think, like you mentioned, the first generation, they immigrated to the United States. It's now only into the second and third generation where their, education is key. Grandparents and parents put an emphasis on getting your education. So there's a lot more Latinos going into universities, graduating universities. So, we definitely see that uptick and that increase. Yeah, wonderful topic. I appreciate your perspective and your feedback on this topic. So let's go ahead and roll right into our third question. I think it's a really good
Hey, Andrea,
segue. Yes.
can I suggest something? We're getting, I'm seeing some questions in the Q&A and the chat. So we start taking some of them and then we come back here just to make sure that if people is sending some of the questions that I'm seeing here, we might want to start covering them.
Yeah, we do have a Q&A session towards the end, and hopefully we will have time for that. So I do see those questions coming in. So everybody in attendance, we do see your questions, and we'll definitely get to them. Thank you for that, Cesar. So the next topic, rolling right in, it's about bringing your authentic selves to our interactions, to our workplace. I think unconscious bias and implicit bias can be used interchangeably. But essentially, it's those preconceived notions that we have about other cultures, including Latinos. Notions about social groups and even gender, age, religion, etc. You name it. I think at one time or another, we can all say we experienced some sort of unconscious bias throughout our careers. And with an increased focus on employees bringing their authentic selves to work, how can companies, including NetApp, especially those at the leadership level, educate people on the cultural values of Latinos and Hispanics to help drive inclusive behaviors in the workforce? So let's go to Maria.
All right, and so I think there's a lot of things happening on diversity and inclusion now, like Cesar. And I think groups like Luna, also any other resource groups that the teams have, are very important to help educate the rest of the company in what the culture of Latinos are. I think it's very important that goes with the message of diversity and how we can grow, how the companies can be better through diversity, right? So it has to be hand in hand. It's not about, oh, now we have all these people that are different than us. It's about, hey, they come in with different ideas, and therefore they can make us stronger as a company. So I think we have to go hand in hand with those. I think it's just the message of bringing your authentic self. We shouldn't have to change who we are to fit in, right? And I think Latinos tend to have this a little bit more than others. Maybe I have this theory that's because maybe we think maybe it's a little bit of an imposter syndrome, but from a point of view that maybe we shouldn't be here, right? Are we American citizens, and do we believe we have the right to be here? If we are, it's okay to have this is a culture, this is a country that is made of immigrants, and we all should be able to show our cultural differences, and we all should embrace the differences, and we all should be wanting to learn. So I think the good news is, just like the generations, I think the new generations, because I see it with my kids, don't have those barriers. They are they are the same, right? They want to learn. They have much more of this learning curiosity about traveling to other cultures, understanding other cultures, right? Becoming allies of other cultures. I think this allyship is another place, like we say with Luna, right? I also work with Luna and I say, hey, Luna is not exclusively for Latinos. It's inclusive. If you want to learn, if there's something you like about the Latino culture, come and learn. We just have to do a lot more, Andrea. I know we've discussed this, is how do we balance our work with Luna, but how do we do more of this? Because I think sharing the richness of our culture, I think people would love it. And I think we just need to make sure we bring it. Let's not hide who we are. Let's expose it to others because we have so much to share across the 4 Fs.
Absolutely, Maria. I can definitely relate to that. Initially, coming to the United States, it was almost about assimilation. And I think that first generation wanted to assimilate as best possible. But second and third generation, we're embracing our rich culture, our diverse culture, where we came from. Most of us have, like you said, you have one foot here in the US and another foot in Costa Rica, or in my case, in Brazil, so, we kind of share both cultures. So I think we have the advantage from that perspective. So Cesar, I'm wanting to get your perspective on this.
Yeah, I think Maria made it, did a great job. Look, I define myself big time as a learner. And being a learner has really helped me in all my career, right? As I said, I live in Asia for several years. And part of the reason why I got that job in Asia was because my approach to be a learner and appreciate different perspectives, going back to that respect, but also appreciation for those different perspectives, helped me to better connect and better understand. So the truth of the matter is, hey, how can we educate people on cultural values of Latinos? I think actually, how do we make sure people wants to go and learn? How can people, really have that curiosity? And this is what we need to push everybody, ourselves as well. How can we get and learn more from other cultures, other people? That's the real breakthrough, right? Because I don't want to change who I am. Going back to the, hey, being myself. You see, one of the most important things for me is authenticity. I want to be authentic. This is who I am. Yes, this is my accent, right? This is the way I am. I'm not going to change that. Oh, I would love to have, by the way, I would love to have a better accent, but, but this is who I am. And I'm not going to come to a meeting every day or to a place where I'm acting. And because first, I will never be happy. That's not me. Now, here's the learning, right? I don't want to be a victim either. So for me, rather than trying to explain others who I am, I want to lead by example, trying to understand who they are, right? So I've spent a lot of time, for example, with the Afro-American community, trying to understand them better, trying to understand, hey, what are some of the things that make them feel different, or we think that we're different, or trying to understand that has helped me a lot to be way more inclusive, because at first I was, but being inclusive, I learned this many years ago. Many years ago, I learned the lesson of the difference between diversity and inclusion. They say, look, you have a party and you invite your friends, everybody that is like you. But then there's this other person that doesn't speak your language and is very different than you. And you are thinking that you are diverse because you have brought the person and you're inclusive. Well, that's not true. You might have been diverse because you have invited the person. But if the person is sitting in a corner by itself because he doesn't speak the language, or everybody's a male and she's the only female, and we're talking about these topics, but the person doesn't know about the topic, you're not inclusive. So diversity is not good enough. You need to also be inclusive. So my key point here is, hey, let's go and lead by example, showing our curiosity to learn from others. That's the best way to make sure that others have the curiosity as well to learn from us and learn who we are.
I really appreciate that perspective. It kind of goes back to the old saying is actions speak louder than words, right? You lead by example with your actions. And, like I tell my children, it's like, you don't know who's watching you. So you better put your best foot forward. Thank you for that. I really appreciate both of your perspective on that. So going on to our final question, and then we will address some of the questions in the Q&A. So mentorship can provide numerous benefits for mentors and for their mentees. Developing this relationship can help both participants learn new things, build their networks, and grow as professionals. I have a mentor external to NetApp that I meet with once a week, and this relationship has proved to be invaluable for me and for her. I've learned how to use my voice, and being an introvert, this takes significant effort for me. Hence why I am doing things like this fireside chat, to kind of get me out of my bubble. And I've learned how to set extreme goals and also maintain accountability. And more importantly, this relationship has provided me growth opportunities, and I've also gained a lifelong friend. And of course, this would not have occurred had I not put myself out there, for lack of a better term. So I'm curious to learn if either of you have been a mentor or had a mentor at some point in your careers. And if you did, how has that impacted your career? So let's go to Cesar.
So for sure, I had many mentors, formal and informal mentors, right? As I said before, I define myself as a learner. So I have many, and I had many informal mentors. And that means for me, people were, hey, I follow, I learn from them, I listen to them, I actually ask their advice. And for me, that's mentorship, right? And then I had formal mentors. So actually, I had people where we had mentorship sessions, etc. And I could, speak for hours because I've learned so much. But I can talk about two that have really been, among many others, but there were two that have been a breakthrough in my career. One was I was, growing very fast in my career. Had a big job. I was, at that time, I was super stressed. Numbers were not coming in. I was all over the place. And I arrived to this session with a mentor, which was, a very senior person in my previous company. And the person, started the meeting, and I was probably 120 RPMs, right? And the person was probably at 30 or 40, right? And looks at me and say, hey, let's calm down. So I started the meeting, like super high. Basically, he started talking to me and made me realize, ask me the following question, say, do you think your manager is helping you? Or is your manager putting more stress on you? And I thought I had a great manager. And is your manager giving you the support you need? Is the manager calming you down? So the question was not about me and my manager. The question was about me with my people. Say, hey, how do you come across to your team? When things get tough, do you put all of them in panic mode? Or basically, hey, you trust, you ask questions, you coach them to really be a leader? That was a big breakthrough in my career, to really understand, hey, how do you push, but at the same time, you give the confidence, you calm, and you need to balance those two things. The second thing that was a breakthrough in my career was, I work hard, like many people here, like probably all of us. All of us work very hard. When I started my career, I was probably work alcoholic. I didn't know that, but probably I was a work alcoholic. And it was very interesting, a session that I had one of my mentors, where they, say, what is the most important thing that you have? And the one that you care the most, and I said, my family. And the person said, hey, and why you don't spend time with them? I said, well, because I'm working super hard. I said, well, but if the most important thing that you have is your family, you're bullshitting yourself. Make sure that you balance that. And that really helped me in my life, right? I've been traveling, I work super hard, right? And some people might listen to this and say, come on, Cesar, your work-life balance is not best in class. I say, well, for me, certainly it is, compared to what I had many, many years ago. So, certainly I've learned a lot from my mentors. And yes, I've been lucky enough that many people have asked me in my career to be a mentor. And the last thing that I'll say about mentorship is, I've learned many times, and I had several times in my career, what I call reverse mentorship. I had junior people right? People early in careers becoming my mentor. And the reason for that was, hey, I was learning new ways of doing things. That's actually how I ended up in social media years ago. This reverse mentorship said, look, Cesar, with all the things that you should be, not just sharing them, but also learning more from social media. Say, I don't know how to do this. I don't know how to do the other. Say, you should learn. It's super simple. Go and learn. And I got, active. Sometimes people stop me and say, hey, I saw your post. I saw this. And I interact. So I'm a strong believer of mentorship because it goes back to the learning opportunity that you have.
Absolutely. And I'm glad that you had a mentor that recognized that you were a workaholic and that you needed to step back and spend time with your family. I feel like when we do that, we're re-energized and we can commit a lot more of ourselves when we have that balance. So I appreciate your perspective, Cesar. Maria, on to you.
Yeah, so I think Cesar said a lot of things that 100% agree. I'm also a true believer in mentorship. I believe the mentors can be there for a long time, right? If you need somebody that gets to know you during the years, it could also be for a specific thing, something closer to a coach when you need some help for a specific topic. And I'm a true believer of mentoring people, right? I do have 4 mentees or 5 mentees right now, and it's more of a helping them with some role modeling, helping them, work through things they're going through that maybe they can't go to their management chain for. And it's just that extra person that can help them in their career. And by the way, I also believe in sponsorship. And I think sponsors are very different. Actually, Cesar was my sponsor at one point. And these are people who look out for you. Even you're not working with them, you're not working for them, but they're out there in your organization and they will help work out for you, look out for you, tell you where there's opportunities. It's less of the day-to-day work, but people who are looking for you. And I think we need both. And coaching, and it's all about learning. Hey, anybody who thinks that knows it all, it's not right. So we just need to help each other succeed.
Yeah, absolutely. And I think it's encouraging when you see somebody that you're mentoring have that professional development and that professional growth. When you see them really taking heart to your discussions and your interactions and actually incorporating it into their day-to-day their day-to-day work.
The
And
best feeling of all.
yeah, I'm sure it is. Sure it is. So thank you so much for all of the questions. We do see them here in the Q&A. So let's go ahead and address some of the questions that have come in from some of our attendees. The first one is going to be for Cesar. What differences do you find from your personal and professional experience in Spain versus other countries across Latin America?
Yeah, that's an interesting question. I think I've been 16 years outside of Spain because of COVID. I moved back with the family. Going back to the point about, hey, priorities in life was an opportunity to get us back together, my kids. Finished college and they're going to start to work. And we've been living in Paris, we've lived in the US, we live in Singapore. They went to college and we were, able to get back as a family. So the first, and interesting enough, the way people work in Spain is very different than 20 years ago, right? So things have changed. But so it's I cannot say Spain versus Latin America, et cetera, et cetera. What is true is, I'll say there's cultural aspects that make Latin America and Spain have a lot of similarities when you compare them to other places. I always say in Latin America, in one hand, we're super lucky because we feel that sense of belonging, being Latam. But the reality, if you ask an Argentinian in this call, if they feel the same that somebody in Chile or Chile and Argentina say, no, we're very different, right? Or somebody in Brazil for sure, or Mexico, and that's beautiful. But one thing that is very strong, and I learned this spending the 7 years in Latin America, is that sense of belonging that Latinos have, which is a uniqueness in many different places of the world. You don't have that when you think about Southeast Asia or even Asia, not even in Europe. but we even have the same currency. So I think that sense of belonging that Latin America has is a super big strength. And connecting the dots with Spain, the fact that there's Spanish speaking, that helps a lot. There's a lot of appreciation in Spain for, Latinos, and I think Latinos as well for Spain. And that's something that is quite, quite strong. And then from a cultural perspective, and even religion, and of course, we need to be diverse because not everybody is the same, but there's similarities as well. So I'll say probably that's why a lot of, there's a lot of business connection between Spain and Latin America nowadays.
And I will also add to that our love for football or soccer, as you would call it here in the United States. We all share the love of soccer, and we're looking forward to the World Cup happening, I think in November, I think it starts. So I'm super excited about that.
Don't ask Cesar who he's going to root for.
Oh yeah, who are you going to root for, Cesar?
Maria has this issue because, when we work together, and I think we had 2 World Cups working together, we put all, and I was actually in both that were in Latin America when I was there, because I've been twice. We had all these screens where everybody was watching, and I was concerned because people was getting really pissed off among them when one team was winning another. But yeah, look, I'm super open, but if Spain wins, I'll be happy. Yes.
Absolutely. Well, we all know who I'm rooting for.
But they will not. I think this year we have, Brazil and Argentina have very strong teams. So this year they have a good opportunity to get it home.
Yeah, I'm definitely rooting for Brazil, but I will be happy with anyone that wins. I'm sure all the teams are deserving.
And France,
Don't ask her about Argentina. Don't ask her about Argentina.
Thank you so much, Cesar, for your perspective on that. Let's go on to the next question. This question is from Maria. What was the main challenge you faced as a professional woman in tech while you were moving up in the career ladder in corporate America, and how did you overcome them? And I know that you're in finance, and you did say you got your degree in computer science. So you had you moved that corporate ladder. So can you tell us about some of your perspective on that?
Yeah, so hey, computer science I did in Costa Rica, and I have to say that in my graduating class, we had more women than men. I think things have changed, but I guess for some period of time, there were a lot of women. So I didn't feel like I had hurdles back then. I think for moving into corporate, hey, the good news is everything is changing, right? We are definitely, if I look back 20 years ago when I was raising my kids, and now it's very, very different, right? I was surrounded, and I was working in Latin America, and I was surrounded by, when I got to a leadership position, I was surrounded by men. They were all men. I had babies at home and a working husband, and they all had wives that did not work. So it was a lot about how do I get my work-life balance? How do I feel not guilty about raising my kids while working in these crazy hours? And there was a lot less forgiveness in the corporate world back then. So the good news is things have changed a lot. So we don't have to even think about that anymore. I think we're much more open to understanding the personal situations. We now have this hybrid workforce. I think we're able to do a lot more things. We're not there yet, right? We still have ways to go. We need higher representation of women, higher representation of Latinos, but we're definitely in a much better place than when I was going through my early years, for sure.
Yeah, absolutely. And being the global lead for Luna, one of the things that my team implemented is our partnership with Latinas in Tech, so that we can attract more of that Latina talent. And we're making great strides, and this is one of the events that we're collaborating with Latinas in Tech, and we see some improvements. I think we had 3 interviews from our career fair last month. So that's certainly encouraging. Okay, so let's go on. I know I'm doing a time check. We have limited time, so let's go ahead and go to our next question. And this question is for Cesar. How would you develop and implement an allyship culture within a global multinational company like NetApp to embrace everyone's leadership, people manager to interns and contractors. So top 5 recommendations on how we could implement allyship.
Look, this goes back, to the culture of the company, right? At the end of the day, we become allies when you basically have the curiosity, right? And try to go and learn. And once you learn, remember that when I started talking about respect, then, once you respect and you have that learning attitude, you learn more. And suddenly, by default, naturally, you become a person that, hey, you defend and you actually become an ally for things, right? In my previous company, I remember very well getting a call from the CEO saying, hey, I'm creating this D&I council, and I would love you to be the co-executive sponsor for women. And I said, woman? I said, but I'm not a woman. The person said, I know that very well, Cesar, but I think that you could be a great ally, given your background and how you are. And I think it goes back to that, sense of learning and curiosity. So going back to your question, it's critical that big part of the culture of the company is to have that growth mindset and learning culture. That's the way to do it. Because if I come and say, look, Andrea, Maria, I want you to become an ally in something, that's not the way it works. I always say, when somebody comes to somebody, if I come to Maria and say, Maria, let me give you some coaching, that's not coaching. That's not coaching. Coaching will be if Maria comes and says, Cesar, I would love to get your thoughts on this. And then I'll give my opinion, right? So we cannot come and ask people, hey, you need to be an ally of something. What we need to ask people is to really have that curiosity and learning, to embrace, the diversity that we have inside the company, so we can all learn. And by default, you become an ally. I know that what I'm saying is probably too profound versus being tactical and say, we want you to do X, Y, and Z, but that's the truth. Everything starts there. Otherwise, the example that I provide on coaching will never work. Maria will never take my coaching because she never asked for it. Would that make sense?
Yeah, absolutely. And I think, going back to what you mentioned about being curious, and seeking out. I know I seeked out a mentor. I seeked out allyship. And that's one of the things, it's one of the pillars that Luna is focused on, is being an ally to all of our other ERGs. So NNBT, which is the NetApp Network of Blacks in Tech, and WIT, which is Women in Technology. There's a lot of intersectionality there and events that we do with them. And it's only by being curious and reaching out to some of those members that we create that relationship. So I really appreciate your perspective on that. So we've had a really great conversation with all the panelists, and the Luna team is so appreciative that we were able to host this session. And if you could leave us with just one word of inspiration or encouragement, what would that word be? So let's go to Maria first. What would your one word of inspiration be for everyone in attendance today?
I think we need to, don't forget to be yourself. I think I am a true believer in bringing your authentic self to work. I'm a true believer of diversity. And I think we're all just going to be better with more diversity and inclusion across the team.
So be yourself.
Yes.
I love that. Thank you, Maria. Cesar.
Just for the word, I'm going to use one word, which is the word proud. And I'm going to give the context now. I think we all should feel proud of who we are. We should feel proud. There's a great book which says, I'm okay, you are okay. But basically the book teach me at least when I read it for the first time, that if you want others to respect you, you need to respect yourself first. So what Maria just said about being authentic and being ourselves, of course it's true. But you're going to feel super good being yourself and being authentic when you're proud. And being proud doesn't mean that you're not humble. Being proud doesn't mean, hey, I'm great. I'm proud of my roots. I'm proud of who I am. I'm proud of bringing my very best every single day and being authentic. And again, take the word proud as something that is not, is not against being humble. It's about feeling great, of who we are, what do we represent every day. I'll tell you one story, and I know that we need to close. I remember many years ago, and I don't want anybody to extrapolate this to, this was this individual in a country. I'm gonna tell the story, but this happened to me, and it also happens in Maria myself. We're living in the same country and in the same city at the same time. But I moved with my family to France, and I live in Paris. And I went to this social gathering, a dinner, and one person, and again, I'm not going to extrapolate to people in France or anything like that. So be careful with what I'm going to say. But one person told me, hey, and how come your company brought a Spanish guy to France to do this job when there's all these French people here to do the job? That question, I was like, holy. And I said, well, I guess that, I was the only one that could do the job. That was my answer. Of course, there's many more people that could do the job. But that bias that we have, and many times unconscious bias, is something that cannot let us down. And that's what I'm saying. We need to feel proud of what we do every day, because we need to bring our very best every day to whatever we do. And we will not always make the right decisions because we make mistakes. And that's going to help us being authentic, being ourselves. And just to be clear, we all will make mistakes and none of us are perfect. So that's a little bit, how I apply things. And look, I'm not American. I have this accent, and I feel super proud to work with a company like NetApp, where the CEO, George, made a big decision of saying, hey, I'm going to have a Spaniard being the president. And by the way, I'm okay if Cesar is going to be living with the family in Spain and traveling to the US. That's a big, bold decision from a CEO.
Yeah, absolutely. And the CEO had enough, confidence in you that you can get the job done from wherever you're sitting. And I certainly could appreciate your perspective on being proud. I'm proud of being Brazilian. I'm proud of being an American, proud of growing up in Miami and speaking Spanish. And, so I'm trilingual, Spanglish. Yeah.
That's right.
I'm trilingual, and I'm proud of that. And it's not, I'm very humble about it. But, we all have something that we bring to the table, and we should definitely be proud of that. I appreciate both of your perspectives today. I appreciate you joining this fireside chat. It was an amazing conversation. Thank you so much for being here. Thank you for Latinas in Tech for partnering with us and sponsoring this event. I'd like to quickly let you guys know, people in attendance, about finding your next career at NetApp. We are hiring. We're different, we're fun, we're driven. We want people that think differently. We want people that are from different backgrounds and have diversity that they bring to the table. We are a forward-thinking company with so much heart, and we want to hire top talent. So please visit our career site. You can scan this QR code and check out all of our openings. We have openings across the globe, not just here in the US. So if you feel like you want to live in Bangalore, or you feel like you want to live in Cork, Ireland, or even in Barcelona, there's opportunities for you. So definitely take a look at our career site and take a leap of faith. So thank you, gracias, obrigado. Happy Hispanic and Latin American Heritage Month here in the US. We hope everybody enjoys the rest of their day and the rest of the month celebrating Hispanic Heritage Month. Thank you so much for attending.
Gracias a todos. Thank you, everybody.
Gracias.
Ciao, gracias.
Obrigado. Thank you, everyone.